Let's do the prayer first. And repeat after me. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Actually, this prayer is very apt for the session today. So what is it saying? It is saying Asato Ma Sadgamya, from truth. Sorry, from ignorance to truth, which is this doll. From darkness to light, which is this doll. Mrityur, from death to immortality, which is the nature of these two dolls. Yeah? So we start. First we do a thought of the day from Swami Vivekananda's eternal calendar. January 1st, New Year, 2026. And very apt also for this session. Swamiji says, my ideal indeed can be put into a few words, and that is to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. So, he's talking about the divinity that is in all of us, which are these two dolls. And how that divinity is manifested through these dolls. So, we talk about the nature of ultimate reality, the truth in Hinduism. So, we say there are these two realities. Are there the two realities or there is just one reality? One, isn't it? So, how do we reconcile that? So, we said to reconcile that, well, they also have to come in a circle. The inside, Arjun dolls, and the outside. The inside, we said, for last 6-7 sessions, we said it's a psychology, experiential in nature. The reality that is experiential in nature. And then, this is the outside. The reality, we call it philosophy, but that is the reality that is inferential in nature, if that makes sense. We don't have direct experience of it, but we infer about it. So these are these two realities. Now, we said if this is the song of connectedness, then this reality, which is these two dolls, Atman and Brahman, they both run through us and they are also outside of us. And it is called immanent, the terms that are used is called immanent and transcendent. The ultimate reality that is through and through all beings, but it is also outside of them, transcendent of them. Another way to look at it is, this Atman that is in all of us, that is within space, time and karma. We've talked a little bit about that in first few sessions. Space, this. Time, movement of time, what we experience. And karma is everything that we are doing. So Maya has these three, like space, time and karma. So this reality runs through and through of Maya, space, time and karma, and also because of Brahman is outside of it also. Space, time and karma is within Maya. So these 5 dolls are the Maya dolls, the Om dolls are the reality dolls. Now, who has heard of this term called Mahavakyas? So this is a very important concept in Hindu philosophy, Advaita philosophy. There are 4 Mahavakya, means the great sayings. So from each Veda, there has been one Pithis statement that has been picked up to describe the nature of this reality. First one is from the Chandogya Upanishad, which is Tattvamasi, very famous Tattvamasi. Heard of it? Tattvamasi. So Tat is this, that. Tat means that. Tvam is this, you. Tat, Tvam, Asi is disconnectedness. On our chart here, I will quickly come and show. So far, in the psychology bit, we were doing the Tvam and Aham piece, Atman. Today, Tat is Brahman. We'll do this other part. And Brahm is this one. So far, we are focused on Atman. Today, we'll focus on Brahman and Atman both. So all this along we are doing Tvam and Aham. Today we'll do Tat, Brahm and Asi and Asmi. So this is Asmi. I am that. There is no two. That is me. So the 4 Mahavakyas are Tattvamasi, Tat, Tvam, Asi. Tat being existence, Tvam being consciousness, and this being bliss. Aham Brahmasmi is the same thing. So there are 2 Mahavakyas I just said, and then there are 2 more. So this is establishing the equality between all the 7 dolls. But now we'll shift our focus on just these 2 dolls. Sorry. Third, these are in your notes, by the way. I put them on WhatsApp so you can follow along on there. So the third Mahavakya is from Aitareya Upanishad. It is called Prajnanam Brahma, which means, so I'm on the Mahavakya section, which means the consciousness is Brahman. These 2 are the same. And the 4th Mahavakya, which is from Mandukya Upanishad, it says, I am Atma Brahma, which means this Atman is Brahman. So with these 4 Mahavakyas from these 4 Upanishads, and all of these 4 Upanishads are from different Vedas, this identity is established between Atman and Brahman. It's one. What is outside, the true reality, is also inside. Make sense? A little heavy philosophically, but this is the deep end. This is what in Hinduism is called the ultimate truth. Like science is trying to find the God particle, that one particle that can explain all of it. This is the Indic way of saying that one particle that can explain all of this. So science also claims that they're also looking for truth, but their version of truth is a little bit different, which is here in this transactional world. Hindu philosophy goes both transactionally and also beyond what is transactional. So we now shift focus on this doll, Brahman. Just have a look at this doll first of all. Unlike these 5 dolls in Maya, this one is the same on both sides. Om is its symbol, and it is called, it has no attributes. It is just pure formless being. What does that mean now? So this one is, I'll come to it, I'll just hold that question, what does it mean? But there are many philosophical names associated with it, such as existence, just this doll I'm talking about, Sat, truth, knowledge. So yesterday we spoke about what is knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Knowledge is actually knowledge of these 2 dolls. Everything else is transactional. So, coming to Brahman again, this doll here, Arjun asks Krishna, 8.1 from your notes, who is that Brahman? And Krishna says, very pithily he says, Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme. It is changeless. It is indestructible. Imagine an entity that is not changeless. Can we imagine it? Everything that we know about this world is changing. Isn't it? Everything is within time. Our bodies grow, people we know, our jobs change, our circumstances change. There is nothing we can imagine that is changeless, because it is within space, time and karma. But imagine an entity that is actually changeless, indestructible, unborn and undying, beyond the conception of mind, unthinkable. That is this doll. And Krishna then says, this Brahman itself is the knowledge, the goal of knowledge and the realization of knowledge. Lot packed in here, which we went through a bit yesterday. Knowledge of who am I? Our real spiritual nature, that is playing out in these bodies. And the promise is, that is freedom. Freedom from all suffering, sorrow. It's the moksha, he says. He says, unmanifested, imperishable, that is called, that is the highest destination. On reaching that, there is no coming back, which is freedom, moksha. Then he says, and this is, Gita is taken from Mundak Upanishad, it's called, there's a verse called 15.6, there the sun shines not, nor the moon, nor the fire. On reaching there, there is no coming back. And he says, that is my highest home. So that was Brahman, this biggest doll. Existence. The idea that something just is, like this chair is, or this table is, that chair is. This is chair. This is table. This is a mat. This is mat we are sitting on. What is the common between these three statements? This is. Right? This is outside when we look. This is this, this is this, this is this. This is the one that is common, that is appearing in all these names and forms. But this is what is the same, unchanging. That is the idea of existence, isness. Now, we talk about the other reality doll, Atman. We spent some time on it already, session 2, but I'll just quickly recap. It's called consciousness, and it has the same attributes as Brahman. Indestructible, eternal, unborn, changeless, unmanifest, unthinkable, unchanging. Within the world of Maya, none of these attributes apply, no? So that was Atman consciousness, which is I am Pranav, I am Yuko, I am Grishma. What is it common in here? I am. When we talked about this doll, we said what is common? This is. Outside. And when we talked about this doll, we said I am. Amness. Consciousness. Inside. And then the Upanishads boldly state, Tattvamasi, that is the same. I am Atma Brahma, that is the same. I am Atma Brahm. So, the equality between these two dolls, Atman and Brahman, is demonstrated. Because we are all connected. So, there are these series of verses. In your notes, it's there, from chapter 13, that sound very contradictory. So this one, immanent, runs through each one of us. Yeah? And this one, the transcendent one, is outside of all of us. So there are these two contradictions, which will be resolved in the next. Same idea, but let me just quickly read through them. And I hope it will make sense. So 13.14, he says its hands and feet are everywhere. He's giving an anthropological description to this ultimate reality. Its hands and feet are everywhere. Its eyes, head and mouth are everywhere. Its ears are everywhere in the world. It envelops and exists in everything. Then he says, it perceives the function of all gunas, experiences, but it is devoid of all experiences, this one. This doesn't have any experience beyond experience. This is the one that becomes pure experiencer. Then he says, outside and inside of beings. This is inside of beings. And this is outside of beings. The unmoving and also the moving, so subtle to be perceived. Then he says, it is so far yet so near. So far yet so near. We see the contradiction here? It appears, but they are one. Then he says, among the lights, it is the light. Beyond the darkness, it is called the knowledge, the goal of knowledge, the realization of knowledge. It is seated in all hearts. It is an important idea to grasp that everything that we are experiencing is changing. And ultimately, change will lead to, that's what it said, lead to sorrow. Why? We'll get old maybe. Things will happen while we are in this life. We'll lose our job, we'll lose somebody we love. Something else might happen. So anything that is within change ultimately will lead to unhappiness. Yeah, we can get some transitory happiness out of it, but to transcend that, we need to get here. So that was what I wanted to very quickly talk about Atman and Brahman, these two dolls. Sat and Chit, connected in that circle of Ananda. I'll stop here because that was the first of the three dolls we had to cover. Brahman, God, Krishna, and Maya. Any reflections, questions? Make sense?
Why is it so needed for us to know the real truth? Because no one has experienced it. People who experience, they vanish and get involved in it. Right? It's like whoever has gone there, we never could meet them, like can't share experience. So and no one has seen it. Like in science, you can never come across. We are so involved in the transactional world. Why is that? Like, why is it needed for us to know it?
Such a good question. Really, such a good question. Because it goes beyond just a theoretical idea, no? Like, where does it become practical? Yes.
How do I know that I need to?
So, isn't that the question that we all started with Arjun's dilemma? Right? I don't want to kill, or like kill is just an example of like something that will cause unhappiness or sorrow. And he says, don't worry, you are eternal, you are the Atman. But if we truly believe to be the case, if we truly believe to be the case that we not only we, everyone all of us are undying. That takes away a lot of fear from us. This kind of a thing becomes more real when somebody we love dies. That's when we become philosophical and we start asking these questions like where might they have gone? What is the nature of where they might have gone? And that in that moment when we are grieving, no, somehow these worldly things lose their power on us. So grief and death ultimately points us to something that is beyond transience, no? So if we truly believe that they have not gone anywhere, and I will also not go anywhere, there is that feeling all is well, no? And then the idea is once you know that there is a higher reality at play, your lower reality loses that much less of a hold on us. When we believe that ultimately everything is changing, so we can live more stoically saying that now is my good time. It's okay. My time will also become not so good. Same way, if my time is not so good right now, because the nature of change, at some point my time will become better also. Swami Vivekananda says Vedanta is the religion of fearlessness. And that fearlessness is what is freedom. Let's do a thought experiment. This is something, oh yes, Sanju. But remind me of this thought experiment. Okay, this is something that I came up with to just understand these kind of questions you're asking. Yes, Sanju.
Fear exists in experiencing. Am I right?
Yes.
And also happiness exists in.
Well, some of the latent fear also exists in the soul person, which manifests in the experiencing person.
What do you mean by latent fear?
Some things like desires, what is the counterpoint of that? Is fear.
Unfulfilled.
So by fear in this case, I mean that PTSD,
What is that?
post-traumatic stress disorder. So people who go to wars, for example, okay, when they come back, just because they've seen so much killing, and they've also maybe involved in killing themselves, they come back as different people. So very random things start giving them fear.
But still, that fear is in experiencing one.
Yes, it is. So what I mean by that, let me put these two away. The seed of that fear is here, that is experienced here.
Okay, but
Okay.
so there is fear in experiencing body, which we can see, and there is death to the physical body, which people can see. So, fear of dying is only happening in these two bodies, and these two bodies die. So, if I know that I am this also, the fear exists, no?
I am what? I am this.
Yeah,
Ye-
because in experiencing body is experiencing the fear, and that has death. Body is dying, that has death. So if I know that I am Brahman, so what is it doing it for experiencing body? And
There you go. So what does knowing mean here? When you say, this is 9th session, right? We talk enough about Atman Brahman, right? And I've been saying no. That's the question of knowledge. So he says knowledge, goal of knowledge, and realization of knowledge. So when you say I know Brahman, or you know that I am Atman, let us say you say I know I am Atman, but the fear still exists. So what kind of knowing of Atman do you have right now?
well, intellectually.
Intellectual. But that is not real knowledge. The real knowledge is that in your bones you believe that. You're convinced.
But still, my experiencing body and my physical body has death.
Yes. So if you are some,
Isn't it the nature of the experiencing body to experience fear?
so the theory goes that as long as you have not realized this, the fear will exist in some shape or form. But once you realize you are this, then it says, what is to be fearful of? You are the infinite. It's a philosophical sort of like, not philosophical, sounds like a very cute idea to say the infinite bliss has become finite. The play, they say, right? Right?
Even though if I believe that, forget about.
Believe nahi.
No.
So
Forget
let's say,
No. Forget about me knowing that in my bones and in the marrows that I am Atman. Forget about that. I believe that I have a Jivatma, which takes rebirth. Okay. Still, so many people know. My Dadi used to know that is Jivatma. She still feared death, no? And that happened in her experiencing world. And how can we, whatever, like, what should we call that? So should we learn to live with fear, or is it about eradicating fear?
It is about eradicating fear.
How?
How? So that is the path of, like, which just we talk about Jnana Yoga, Shravan, Manan, Nidhyasana, is that part. But let me be a little bit more practical here. Shruti, one second. Can you hold on to that question? Huh? So I just want to zero on this idea of no, Atman. Say you're walking on the street, immersed in your own world. Somebody says, "Hey Sanjay," you suddenly turn back. What was the nature of that knowledge? That you are Sanjay. Did you have to remind yourself that you are Sanjay?
I'm used to it, no? Since time.
It's instinctively.
Yeah.
Instinctive. Right? There was nothing, like, it was a microsecond thing that somebody says Sanjay, you instinctively turn back. Because that knowledge of I am Sanjay is so thoroughly internalized in you that you don't need any reminding. The same thing that, like, you are an artist yourself and you make and build things, right? So one is you can read textbooks on stage management. That is also one kind of knowledge. And then you start experimenting with stage designs. You understand that what's written in the book is sometimes not applicable in these situations. That's another kind of knowledge, practice. You're honing it. Till you have such an expertise that you can look at a program and conceive of a stage design and effortlessly bring it out. Like this Vishwarupa drawing, Dwarki sir said. He didn't need, he just keeps drawing. Because it's in his, what I'm calling bones, but that's probably not the right expression, but it's so thoroughly internalized in him that he doesn't need any reminding. So you gave an example of your dadi. So your dadi was somebody who was still practicing. She knew the textbook knowledge she had, and then with all the scriptural study and her life and all she was doing practice to the end that she was better than most people who were not practicing. But it was still not internalized. So this idea of knowledge, realization of knowledge is Brahman actually.
Have you seen anybody who has internalized it?
So that was the question that Shruti was asking earlier. Right? This is the idea in philosophy, which is, does other person exist or not?
What do you mean then?
Yeah, so basically, how do I know that Amrita is real? I can see her. That's one kind of knowledge. But it's called I think the term for it is the problem of other people's consciousness.
But we don't know, no?
That is what I'm saying.
So it is all belief. That I believe that there is Pranav sitting in the
Ah.
session, there is belief that there is Amrita sitting in the session. So it is not actually knowing in the context what you are saying.
So first of all, we cannot, by definition, we cannot know somebody else's experience.
Yeah.
Right? So, especially in India, we are replete with Babas who claim that I am enlightened. How do you validate that experience? First of all, short answer is you cannot. We cannot. We can only validate our own experience. Isn't it? So then becomes, as you rightly said, this idea of belief. But what kind of belief are we talking about here? So, my Swami says that you should test that Baba with your own experience rather than believing what he says. Example is Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna died at 54 of cancer. And last few years of his life were very difficult. And there is a lot of pain, physical body pain that comes through cancer. but he was always happy. Vivekananda, 39. And he had announced it long time back that I will not live to see 40. One day he just gets up. There's a whole story in his biography about this, but he gets up and he says, I've had enough. I'll just do Mahasamadhi. I'm done now. So this is the power of enlightened people who can somehow bring in their own experience and transcend it. And then our history is full of these people who are actually enlightened that we can, like Ramana, Nisarga, Datta. And there are, in fact, a lot of enlightened people who don't claim that they're enlightened. They're all living within each other. And then let us understand what is the meaning of enlightenment here. It is just not real. What does realization even mean? Do you have to become a Baba to be realized? That's the dominant sort of a model put out there, that you have to be a sage to be realized. But what is the model that Krishna is telling to Arjun? That you can be a householder, you can live in the world and still be realized. In fact, we are all on the spectrum of enlightenment. So this enlightenment business has also been made into this game, that we have put labels on, that this kind of person who wears this kind of clothes and who talks this kind of language is the enlightened one. But ordinary people living within us, living the life of Gita, living this life of connectedness, who know this to be the truth, that we are all one in some way, and they treat everybody that same way. That is practical enlightenment. And once you have that practical enlightenment, then not only then, that is actually the effect of that, but we live a very different kind of life. Yes, Harpreet?
Should you have a question before me and then I will comment? Yeah, I think he answered partially, but when he started his last paragraph, he said, what is the meaning of enlightenment? So what I understood is the meaning of enlightenment and realization is kind of practicing more of the consciousness of the Om. So it becomes a second nature like our name. And the more we keep practicing is, the more we'll feel realized, enlightened, or whatever word we can call it. But again, there's no full stop to it. It's just practice, and constantly we can keep doing it. But when we realize fear in our experiencing bodies, when we know we need to keep working more on that part. Is my understanding right?
Absolutely. See, we have to judge everything experientially and practically here. Just me saying Atman is equal to Brahman, I am Atma, Brahma and all is not it. What is practical enlightenment? Not everybody is running to the Himalayas and becoming a sage, no. What is the promise of me doing this work? The promise of me doing this work, for me personally, is that I don't feel Atman yet, but enough of this practicing like this, I will become a better person, a more enlightened person, a more connected person. And that is my practice. Everybody's practice will be different. But ultimately, you don't have to be a Baba. I keep saying there are models that are associated with enlightenment. You can be an ordinary person living in enlightenment and nobody has to know. Because this enlightenment experience is purely personal.
And the practice that is, like, as you say, practice will be to each its own. So we'll have to, this whole life and experiential body is a way of knowing how we can know our practice and what will work for us.
Yes.
But the parameter or benchmark for that is feeling. If we are feeling fearful, that means we have not found the practice, and that's not progressing right. Is it?
So fear is one way to analyze this Atman and Brahman. The other way is tune into those moments when you had immense joy in your life. when you did not have fear? What was that like? No, 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 no. Ikigai is very karma based. I will give you examples from my personal life. Any work, any project that I had done that was not about my selfish interest for a broader good, I always felt better about myself. An inquantifiable kind of a love that doesn't come from loving your kids, for example, but comes from being connected with something higher than me. We talk a lot about fear um, in this discussion of spirituality, but fear is what makes us go shrinking. Swami Vivekananda says, um, contraction is death, expansion is life. So, tune into, like, just remember those moments in your life when you felt this universe is welcoming you. If we have not had that experiences up until now, then let's go search for those experiences then. They will not come necessarily from resume. They will not necessarily come from what job we have, how much money we have. That will necessarily come with connection. And that is the pointer that there is something higher. And imagine that you are in that state all the time. You don't have to become a Baba for that. You can choose to live your life, and there are certain circumstances and situations and places and people that facilitate that transition. Living in a very tamasic place will make it harder. Living in a sattvic place will make it easier. Did I answer your question, Shruti? So there are many different ways we can look at it. First is, as we said, we cannot validate somebody else's experience. Whatever they're saying, either we believe it or we test it. Don't believe it, test it. Second is, fear is one way to understand the limits of these three bodies. But if we tune in too much into our fear, then we'll just stay with that fear and then we'll try to just articulate that fear. Why is that fear coming like this? But a more practical way to feel that enlightenment is to see the connection, the Asi thing, all the dolls being connected. And if we feel that genuine amount of connection, the Vasudev Kutumbakam, they say, no, like this whole world is Krishna's family. If we genuinely believe that, that is the most expansionary state we can get into, which is this: I'm all of this. One. Harpreet?
No, I think my question is answered. I was just doing a follow up with Sanju's thing. To me, I mean, again, in my little life, fear seems in there, right? Like it is an evolutionary thing. I don't think we'll ever be like fully out of fear because we are programmed to have fear. And from my perspective, like to your tati or anyone that I know, and my own grandfather, he prayed all his life. He was in bhakti, and I wonder at that dying moment, I should ask, are you in fear or what is that arising to you? So, I mean, I don't think we can be in that state apart from these these souls that we have discussed. The only person that came to my mind was Ramana Maharishi, because you know how he started, right? In his childhood, he had that dying experience, and in that death, he saw that connection, and then when he came out of it, he became that fear. I don't know. He became, let's say, enlightened, right? For lack I mean, I think the measure is how fearful you are and of what, and how you show up in fear. To me, that's what it is. It's never, I'll always fear dying. I'm always going to fear that my children will not, are my children okay? That's programmed in me as a mother, right? That is my love, right? So I'm not, I, I'm in a jungle, and actually I am fearful of snakes. I mean, nature gave me fear to protect myself. So I think I understand we are talking about different kinds of fear and grades here, but I don't know if I'll ever tell you that I don't fear dying. Or somebody who's on their deathbed, like recently, my aunt passed away of cancer, and she knew she was going to die. I wonder what that felt like. Was it like, yeah? I mean,
There
what
is
the emotion
there is
that's come
there is
from
a wonderful book I'll highly recommend.
when breath becomes air?
Yes.
I don't know, Pranav, I read all that, and all I'm trying to say is that I agree, like, it makes
So
sense.
no, so that's why it is the highest ideal, no?
Yeah, but why is it the highest? Why should I? I think the point I'm trying to make is not we. I think we have to really understand. You're right. Fear is a dominant emotion, and love and fear are on that spectrum. But the question is, what are we fearful for? How are we showing up in that fear body? And some fears are valid. Does not mean that Gavi was not enlightened, as an example, because she was fearful until that last minute.
So we have more material to cover, but let me just try one more time.
So, I just want to add to Harpreet. Somehow, I feel fear is very important. And it is the nature of that experiencing God to experience fear. And it will, save us also, as we
From
know,
snakes.
It will bite us and it's going to kill us. It's that knowledge is making us being aware of it and staying away from it.
Yes.
So like that, we know that we can't walk from this railing because we'll fall down and break our bones. So we'll do these things. If we don't have fear, then we'll start doing reckless things, which hurts our body. So I don't know about Ramana Maharshi or any other so-called enlightened persons, but I don't know,
So there's somebody very intelligent that I know. About this nature of fear. That person said, and you know that person, he said you have to look past your fear. So that kind of fear we are talking about here. Not the fear of snakes and we do something reckless. Or we don't have fear, we do something reckless. That is irresponsible. We are not.
That paralyzes you.
So the fear so you're right, the experiencing person, his nature is to feel fear, but the practice is how do we look past that fear, right? And what is the practice, or what is that belief, what is that worldview that makes it easier, or over practice makes us convinced to be able to look past that fear most easily? There is this, we are going off topic in the timeline, but yes, Harpreet.
Is fear of death a valid fear?
It is a valid fear, absolutely a valid fear. And why is that fear? That we will not exist. Even if my current life is miserable, I will still fear dying because I have a fear that I will not exist. The fear is not of dying, the fear is that of existence, not existing. Which is this one.
Yeah, you have a point, Pranav, but I really.
But hold on, fear is a very, evolution has programmed us with fear for a reason, to protect ourselves, right? But then we also have to understand the transient nature of this life, and it is inevitable. Krishna says, no, death, jatasya hi dhruva mrityu. That who is born will surely die, and who dies will surely be born. If we truly believe in that, then where is the fear of existence? But we don't truly believe it. That is why these are just words for now, at least.
You can never believe it, right? No one experienced it, or you don't know if there is this rebirth concept or not. So of course you can.
So that is the part. Remember, I said no. Like the two parts of this reality. One is experiential. The other one is inferential. Experiential is what we can see within ourselves, which is the cycle of karma. Experientially, no, inferentially, what we can see is this idea that sun always rises in the morning, sets in the evening, and it is a cycle all the time. Right? Seasons go like clockwork. Isn't it? So that is what we are saying. The cycles within ourselves are the same cycles that play out outside. So in that sense, so if what I feel inside of me is karma, my repeated patterns, then the cycles that I see outside should also be karma. I don't experience it, but I can infer that.
They're not exactly connected, right?
So there is this level. So again, that is when we say law of karma. I mean, do you believe that we have repeated cycles within ourselves?
Give an example.
Your habits,
Yeah, there are
patterns, isn't it? That is karmically driven.
In a way, it depends on how we look at it.
Well, that was a whole chart we have, that one with 4 wheels. That's the karmic wheel. That is the experiential part of law of karma. So what Hinduism is doing is the taking something that is inside and mapping it to what is outside. That is the philosophy part of it. So you are right. Nobody can say that law of karma is cosmically right, true or not, but that is basically the foundation of all Indic religions. The difference between Indic and Western religions is what? Indic being Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism. They all differ in what the nature of this reality is. But one thing they don't disagree is on law of karma. They all believe in it. Which is, again, if you look at all the other religions also, the judgment day idea, that is also karmically influenced. Right? But their version of karma is that it's one shot and you're done. And then somebody will have a ledger of your life and then judge you on based on that. In Hinduism, it's like, no, it's no, like there's nobody judging you. Based on what you did in this life, you'll get something else in a future life. So that is our way of explaining this cycle of karma. So there is that idea, you're right, a belief required, but then you can convince yourself of your belief by testing it experientially within yourself.
Okay, I understood some, I didn't understand some.
No, that's it. So these 4 dolls are psychology dolls. These we can understand, we can validate with our. It's like saying, no, like somebody enlightened says, I'm enlightened. How do you validate? You cannot. You have to believe it. Right? If somebody is telling you, how do you know when somebody is telling the truth or not? You have to believe them. A lot of our life is based on believing some things that we cannot always independently validate, isn't it?
But I think we should, as much as.
But we cannot. It's just nature of that. No, like I cannot be in your mind and read your mind, no?
Yeah, we cannot.
So in that sense, whatever you tell me, I'll take it based on my previous, experiences with you. I will know, okay, by and large, he's truthful, by and large.
That's what I said, the validation.
Yes. Okay,
It
yes.
just depends on how you
Yes.
interact and then based on the response you get.
Yes, that is the inferential part I'm saying.
Yeah.
You've inferred that, okay, on 10 times I've had 10 interactions with him, he's this sort of a person.
Right.
But 11th time, you might go against my inference. But I cannot validate it. So, belief is a strange word. Now we're going so off script right now, time wise also. But belief is an interesting idea, right? Let me stop here. We will touch upon these questions if we have time towards the end. I really have to cover the material today.
Time check is 7:35.
There you go. Okay, but this is where this is where Vedanta has to be discussed with more time. Right? Because there are two dolls here. No, this is like the experiential doll and these are the inferential doll. How do you know God exists? So we have to come up with so we've come up with the philosophy of God, no? Everybody has a different philosophy of God. Right? So we'll come to God now. Let's come to God now. We'll put all these dolls back. It's a nice segue into it. And philosophy of God. So this is the philosophy of ultimate truth. Now, as you said, we have to believe it right now. Yes, right now, let us give it a provisional certificate that we have to believe it. And now we have to spend our life, not life or whatever our practice, testing it. And there's some tests I said, like, what makes us feel bigger than ourselves? That I am not the only game in town. Right? So those kind of tests we can always run. And then the promise is that over time that belief will become not a belief, it'll become more of a faith, and that faith will then become more sort of like embedded in us, so that it becomes what our true being is. That is why there's a whole struggle involved in it. It's not possible to go directly from this one to this one, doing person to the being person. There is a lot of work that has to be done between this doll and this doll, the experiencing and the soul person. When we go and do meditation, no, right? Then, actually, this is a separate discussion. I'll just let it pause there. But let's just talk about philosophy of God. Like, let's say, we say, like, how do I believe it? Right? So, let us say what Vedanta says what God is. There are so many questions we can go around here.
We can cover the thing you have and
Then we can come back. Yes, good. I like that attitude. So this is the Krishna doll. So this Krishna doll has two faces to it. One is the Krishna we know, avatar and dancing with the flute and all those things. Krishna of Mahabharata. But within Gita there is another Krishna, which is this one. The cosmic form of Krishna, where he says the whole of world is inside of me. So, in philosophy, what is this God? This God. Well, this we said doesn't have a form. This is also what I call formless God or impersonal God. It has no idea of good or bad, right or wrong. But we've created a God with form. Every religion has. And we called it, in this case, this is a Brahman, Nirgun Brahman, Brahman without any qualities. And this is Brahman with qualities. Qualities as in, we said, all knowing, all powerful, all merciful, all good. Right? So this is the traditional God. And this is what is the conventional wisdom of God. Vedanta will say you are also God, but that's something that will come to it later if we have. Yeah? So they're both gods. One is the impersonal God, the other one is a personal God. Why do we need a personal God? Well, we cannot focus on something that is formless, but having something with form gives us a staying power to focus and practice. Just the mind needs something to hold on to. So the Krishna of Gita is an avatar who is the spokesperson for this Brahman, because this Brahman cannot talk. So he comes in as an avatar in Bhagavad Gita to speak to us. So this Brahman becomes Saguna Brahman, Brahman with attributes. So this is like a philosophy of like we've created a God so that we can say that he's the one talking to us. And this is again, we believe. And Krishna says, I am the Brahman in human form. He says, the Brahman is my ground, he declares, 14.27, of the immortal, imperishable, eternal dharma of peace and absolute. He said, I am the same as this, but in human form. And then he says, the fools disrespect me when I take on a human form. They do not know of my supreme being, which is Brahman. So he is now humbly declaring himself as Brahman, but in human form. And then Arjun then says, there's a whole back and forth that happens in Gita, and Krishna is showing him all his different forms. And in chapter 10 and 11, which is the glories of God chapter, and chapter 10 and chapter 11 is the cosmic God, Arjun says, yeah, I understand now that you've shown me your cosmic form, you are really this Brahman. So this is sort of philosophy, I'm just saying, of God. That this Krishna becomes the form of the formless to come and speak to us, to disseminate this knowledge of all of this, spirituality. Now, who is Krishna the God in Bhagavad Gita? So first of all, he starts off Arjun's friend before Mahabharata. Then he becomes his charioteer, and there's this famous sequence in chapter 1 where Arjun says to Krishna, hey, Krishna, take me to the middle of the ground, I want to see who I'm fighting. And Krishna the charioteer takes him to the middle of the ground and he says, hey, look at all the Kurus here. And that's when his breakdown starts, and then Gita starts from there. So that's his second role as a charioteer. Friend and charioteer. Then our friend breaks down. Then he says, fear, I am besieged of it, I am disoriented. I ask you what my dharma is, tell me clearly. I am your student, teach me. So then he takes on another role of a teacher. And then the dialogue starts. And Krishna is a very interesting kind of a teacher in Bhagavad Gita. What I would call as a role model teacher. He basically is kind of a teacher in Gita who is also very direct, doesn't sugarcoat things. When Arjun is flailing, he says, this is smallness of heart. Rise up, Arjun. This is not worthy of you. But then throughout the Gita, he will keep telling him, encouraging him. Do not lose faith. Do not despair. Rise up, rise up, rise up. You are bigger than this fear. He will do a lot of repetition also, like a very good teacher. He'll keep asking him, did you understand? Did you understand? Did you understand? When they're having these dialogues on all these different questions. And he is somebody who he says again and again, I wish for your welfare. That is also a quality of a real teacher. Right? So he says, listen again, Arjun, to my highest teaching, I'll speak for you because you are delighting in it and I wish for your welfare. His teaching style is like that. And then, as I said, he keeps testing Arjun throughout Gita. Is like, did you get it? Did you get it? And Gita ends like this. He says, have you been listening, Arjun, with all this teaching I've given you? Is your delusion destroyed? And he says, yes. Arjun, he says, yes, I've understood what you said as a teacher. I will do as what you taught. So this another sketch that comes out of Krishna is that of a teacher. So friend, charioteer and a teacher. But then he takes on as a role of avatar. Krishna says as a teacher, I've taught this timeless yoga from the time immemorial, from the time of sun god. Chapter 4 starts like that. And Arjun has a doubt. He says, wait, I thought you were born just a few years ago. How have you been teaching it since time immemorial? That's when the famous verse comes in, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So when and when dharma is on the wane, then and then I manifest myself. So he says that I'm an avatar. That's his fourth role as God in Bhagavad Gita. The fifth role, then he says, I am the God in all of creation. That's chapter 11. If you open your notes, there are these slides I put together. Sanju, you have read chapter 10, no?
Sorry?
You've like, has anybody read chapter 10 here? Vibhuti Yoga?
What, like,
No, like the structure of that. Like Krishna is comparing himself to the best
yeah.
qualities. Have you read chapter 10?
This is my first time.
Oh, okay, I see. So basically, when he says in chapter 10, Arjuna very innocently asks Krishna that you are God, how do I think of you as God? And Krishna says, if you want to think of me as a God, think of all the best of the best things in this world outside. So he compares the best qualities to, I made a list here, but I categorized in these buckets of philosophy, Maya. He compares himself to mythological gods. So he says, among the gods, I am the Indra. Among the sages, I am Kapila. Among the serpents, I am Vasuki. So he's trying to, like, among the rivers, I am Ganga. In the beings, he says, I am the consciousness. So that is his approach of like saying that I am through and through all of this existence. How to see me in this world outside, how to remember me. So the question deeply goes is, how do we remember God in our everyday existence? So some of the things he says, I am the Atman Arjun. And he also says, I am also the time, indestructible time. He says, of the gods, I am Indra. Of the chants, I am Om. Among all the chants, all the mantras, he said, I am Om. And so on and so forth he goes. Of the rivers, I am Ganga. Of the lights, I am the sun. Of the horses, of the elephants, I am Airavat. These are all mythological Vedic stories. Some of you might have heard of them. Right? So that is his third role. He shows in chapter 10 that I am the best of the best. If you have to remember me. God is in everything, good and bad. But Arjun's question is, how do I think of you, Krishna, in my day-to-day? So that is the glories of God chapter. I'm speeding through it in the interest of time. Then the last one comes in. He says, well, God is all in this creation, but this creation is also in God. Which is this famous chapter 11, which is the Vishwarup Darshan Yoga, where Krishna shows which is this doll here, on this doll, which is this one here. So what I will do is I will get up here and I will show you what is in this drawing here. And then when I quickly read through some of the verses, it will make sense. Right? So those who are in India must have seen this image of Krishna with multiple heads, all the gods within him. This is that chapter. So in this image that we have reimagined using whatever is the conventional sort of like depiction of Vishwarup Darshan. So what you see is this is Vishnu in the middle. On one side is Shiva, the other one side is Krishna. There's Brahma here, the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Then there are all these other Vedic gods and demons. They are these other heads. Gita and Upanishads are are basically part of the Vedic tradition. So the gods that they talk about are all going to be Vedic gods, like Indra, Vasu, Aditya, Rudras, Ashwinis. They are not in fashion nowadays, but in Vedic gods, so in Vedic times, they were the gods. Think of them like our Greek gods, no? Zeus, Athena, those gods. So they are our original Vedic gods are those only. That over time then became what we see today.
Are there any goddesses here? Athena was a.
They are goddesses in here, no?
I can see.
Yeah, there are goddesses in here.
But is it mentioned in Vishwarupa?
In Vishwarupa, I don't think it is mentioned. But Vedic goddesses do exist. Usha and Saraswati and Uma. There are few more that they are that I have to just remember a little bit.
Oh, so these are only mentioned in the Vishwarupa.
No, in Vishwarupa, I don't think there is any lady god mentioned. But there are Vedic lady gods also. A lot of gotchas today, huh? For a session that is so tight. But anyway, so in that chapter also, he's shown as having infinite arms, infinite legs, and Krishna reveals himself to as death also. This is a scary picture he paints. So chapter 10, he talks about his best of best. Here he talks about him being just death. That famous Oppenheimer sort of quote that most people have heard about Gita, like when Krishna says, like, when that atom bomb was tested out, and Oppenheimer says that I remember this quote from Bhagavad Gita, now I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. So that is death, in which all of this is coming. Ultimately, it's all going, Krishna says, I am the death that comes for everyone also. And he says, well, if once you come close and look at this drawing more closely, you'll see these fishes going through all the way to Krishna's navel. That is Krishna's way of saying all the beings come to me only after death. Then what we imagine as the war happening here, this is one side of the war, this is the other side of the war. All the karma we do in the world is also in Vishwarupa, machines and all. Everything that we know about the world, the material world, is also here in Vishwarupa that we've imagined. And in Vishwarupa, he will say, like, Arjun is seeing Krishna and he says, oh, you have infinite hands with all of these weapons and all of these sort of ornaments that you are wearing. So that is the image that we are showing here. And it's taken from the chapter itself. So I'll just quickly read a few passages. In my humble opinion, I think this is one of the best pieces of literary literature written in all of, definitely, like, I believe in all of human history. The way this chapter is written, very poetic, very to the point. There is no high philosophy in it. Krishna just describes his cosmic form. And very easy to read. I encourage you to read this chapter 11. Chapter 10 and 11 are actually very easy to read. It's like reading a normal book. So, Arjun says to Krishna, I wish to see your cosmic form. So you declared to me you're God, now show me that you are really God. And then Krishna then says, okay, fine, Arjun, let me give you divine eyes. So on this doll we also have created a divine eye on top of it. Because the idea is that we cannot see God with our human eyes. So there are special eyes that are given so that we can see God. And then he says to Arjun, once he gives him divine eyes, he says, See, Arjun, my forms, hundreds and thousands of them, all of us basically. So divine, of so many kinds and so many colors and shapes. Now he'll talk about the Vedic gods. See the Adityas, see the Vasus, Rudras, Ashwinis, Maruts, all of them in me. When he says, see the entire universe inside of me, what do you want to see? He asks Arjun. And then the cosmic form is described. He says, many faces, many eyes, many awe-inspiring sights, many divine ornaments, many divine weapons ready to strike. He's describing the cosmic form. Dressed in divine necklaces, divine clothes, divine fragrances, you of infinite faces, I see you in every direction. So imagine that what Arjuna is seeing. He's seeing the infinite. He says, I call it Arjuna having a psychedelic experience. I see all the gods in your divine body. I see Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. I see all the sages. I see all of these beings in all of these different designs and shapes inside of your body. So imagine the whole universe being inside Krishna. Not only the whole universe, but gods and goddesses and everything. And then he says, I see this cosmic form and I'm trembling with fear now. He says, this form, your infinite form that leaps into the skies, of the brilliance of many colors, of might, mouths wide open, of blazing huge eyes. And then Arjun sees death inside the cosmic form. Once he's seen like these infinite shapes and faces, he now sees death. How does he see death? He's trembling with fear seeing that. He's overwhelmed. Then he sees death. He says, I see the all-devouring death in your terrifying teeth and in your face. I see in you these sons of Dhritarashtra and these kings, Bhishma, Drona and Karna, and our people also. All of these are entering swiftly into your mouth, into your terrible, frightening teeth. I see a few people stuck in your teeth with their heads crushed. He says, you lick and you bite them from all sides as if you're enjoying this dance of death. And he says, just as the river in many waves flows swiftly to the mouth of ocean, so do these brave men of the world enter your blazing mouth as you're eating them. Not a very happy picture. But this is the other side, no, of life. Death that is inevitable. He's metaphorically imagined it. Or in this case, Arjun is experiencing it. And he says, just as the moths enter in droves to a flame well lit, so does this world enter your mouth to swift perishly. Then he asks, tell me, who are you of this form so fierce? Tell me. Then Krishna says, I am the mighty time. Kalo Asmi. To end the world I flow. To annihilate this world, this is my nature. All these assembled fighters will not exist even if you don't fight. Then he makes that famous statement, Arjun, you rise up. These people are already killed by me, as you can see. You are not doing the killing, I am doing the killing. Do not despair, fight, just be an instrument in my hands. And so on, so this chapter goes, and then he's very fearful. Then he tells Krishna, okay, I'm done with your cosmic form. Show me your Vishnu form of 4 hands that I can deal with. This is too frightening for me. Then Krishna shows his Vishnu 4-hand form. Then he shows his normal avatar form. And the chapter ends. So within this chapter, there are all these layers. Krishna showing this terrible world, which we say the death is a fear. He says, yes, I am death. We spend a lot of time on this idea of fear and death, no? He says, yes, it's inevitable. Now the third thing, Maya. I have to finish that. Tomorrow is the last session.
Do Maya and then culminate.
No, too much to do tomorrow. Everybody okay so far? We signed up for it, no? Ideally, I feel 12 session would have made it. But we signed up for it. This is a lot of questions we are asking about reality. So now, Maya and Brahman, a lot of questions we were earlier talking might make more sense a little bit now. They're related. What is this world now? If this is the ultimate truth, what is Maya then? The place where we live in. What is that? So, the philosophy goes like that. Brahman has, like Shiva has a power of Shakti, fire has a power of to burn. Brahman also has a superpower called Maya. And this Maya works in a very interesting way. Maya has two powers. One is called Avrana Shakti, which is the veiling power, by which you cannot see anything, or which you have difficulty see something. And the other one is the projection power. I'll give an example that will make it more concrete. So Maya is philosophically called all these funky names: illusion, projection, hypnosis, not real. Yes, but what does that mean? When you see this, it's covered with cloth, but this thing, what do you see? Table. A wooden table. Right? So, it has two powers. One is the veiling power, I said, that covers. The veiling power is that it is actually wood, but it's hidden. The first thing we say, it's stable. So that is the veiling power, the wood appearing as not wood, but something else. But then once we cannot see that it is wood, then the projection comes. It looks to us as a table. Wood appears as table. Water, if we see, a wave, a foam, a vapor. If we just say it is vapor or it is wave, then we are not seeing the water. Not seeing the water is the veiling power. And seeing the water as something else, as a wave, a foam, is projection. Does it make sense? Clay and pot is another example that's said, right? Clay and pot. What we see is a pot, but it's actually clay. The pot can be broken and it can be made into something else. Now we'll call it, say, give me an example of something you can make, a sculpture. This table can be broken and made into a chair. This thing I'm sitting on, but it's all wood only. So this Maya is very tricky because first of all, it hides from what it really is, the veiling power, and then it projects a name and a form on it, which we say it's a table or it's a chair or it's a wave. So this is sort of the philosophical idea of Maya. Chapter 15 starts off with this tree of Maya. Now Krishna will describe what this tree of Maya is. This is taken from chapter 15. It starts off like this, 15.1 to 15.6. So a good way to understand Maya is anything that changes is Maya. I've mentioned a few times before. Thoughts, Maya. Feelings, Maya. The world outside that changes is Maya. The changeless one are this and this. So what is the nature of this Maya? So Krishna gives an example of a peepal tree. Ashwath tree in Sanskrit. Ashwath tree is, but this is a strange kind of a peepal tree, not the kind of peepal tree we see outside. Why the peepal tree is because it's considered to be one of the longest living trees in the world. It has an end, but it lives really, really long. So that's why this simile is given. So this peepal tree is a strange peepal tree. It has two roots, one going up and one going down. So, where did this tree come from? From ignorance. This idea of veiling. We mistake it for table, we mistake wood for the table, that is the ignorance. So, from Brahman, Om is Brahman here, with this power of projection, it becomes this tree, name and form. And what is the nature of this tree? So it's happening in 3 steps. First is Brahman uses his power of Maya, veiling power of Maya, and then projecting this tree of Maya in all these physical manifestations. And this physical manifestation is this tree. So where did this tree come from? We've talked about last few in portions of psychology. This tree comes from ignorance. Same tree that we saw there. This is the individual ignorance. This is cosmic ignorance. Then this tree, this causal seed of ignorance is watered by this desire. Yesterday we said ignorance, desire leads to action. So cosmically also, this is the cosmic, imagine individual ignorance and all the individual ignorances summed together, that is the cosmic ignorance, which is this. It is watered by the tree of desire. And its trunk or all the cosmic mind, all the experiencing persons in the world. This is individual ignorance, soul person. This is cosmic ignorance. This is individual experiencing person. This is cosmic experiencing person. This tree of Maya is this tree trunk. Then its roots go down below because we are watering this tree with our desires, all of our desires. So its roots become stronger and stronger. That is the Karam Bandhan. This is what holds this tree strong. Then he says these branches of this tree, oh, one more thing I should mention, this tree goes from black, red to white, the colors of guna, because this is experiencing, cosmic experiencing body. Starts off with black, tamas, rajas, all the way to sattva. So this tree, these branches, wherever you are on this sort of like hierarchy of this tree, that is the evolution of the people living on this tree of Maya. So people on the lower side are more tamasic or rajasic, people on the higher side, souls basically, on the upper echelons are more sattvic in nature, white branches. And on this tree, we have all made our homes. These are all of us. This, depending on where we are spiritually evolved. Then he says, these fruits are why these birds have made the nest on this tree, because they want something. They want fruits and flowers. And then these buds that you see here are our senses that go out, that ultimately will become fruits and flowers. See what we are doing here. We are drawing an analogy from the individual to the cosmic, ultimately to show what we see experientially with what we can infer from the world outside. An example is being created ultimately to show they are only one. Then when we hop around on this tree of Maya, nibbling on these fruits, that is our experience. Good fruit, bad fruit. That is the cosmic experience. And then finally he says, the leaves are the Vedas of this tree, like knowledge. So this is how he sketched out this whole metaphor of this two-rooted tree of Maya, where we all made our homes, wanting certain things from this tree, fueling it with our desires, and this tree becomes stronger and stronger. Now, how do you get rid of this tree? Yesterday's session we talked about vairagya, dispassion. That is the ultimate thing to get to Atman. Sannyas, we said, is the highest. So, he uses the analogy of axe. And he says, cut the tree of Maya with this axe of vairagya or dispassion. And he says, this tree gets stronger and stronger every day because it's fueled by all of us. Cosmic karma. Individual karma and this is cosmic karma.
What's the difference?
Individual is inside of us, cosmic is outside. So that this body, for example, divides us from the world outside. Right? So within that body, also we have three other bodies that you see as three other dolls here. Yeah? So outside and inside. Now this is a commentary from Shankara. And he says, what are the experiences on this tree of Maya? And this Shankaracharya paints a very scary picture. He says, what does this tree sound like or feel like? He says this tree is not a peaceful tree. It is full of noise. And Shankara says, noise is coming from the experience of happiness and sorrow. He says all these birds sitting on this tree are chirping. Some are singing, some are screaming. He says this tree has uproar. Tumultuous, this is Shankara's commentary. Tumultuous sounds arising from dancing, singing, music, play, jest, laughing, pulling, crying, exclaiming. Alas, some exclaiming, alas, alas, leave me alone. And grief arising from enjoyment and pain. And Shankara says this is what samsara sounds like. Maya sounds like, this world sounds like. Clapping, cheering, music, some saying, I've had enough, take me out, take me out. And if we look at what is happening in the world outside, a good deal of it is actually very terrifying. So this is the nature of this tree and the experience of this tree, living on this tree. But the only way to get out of this rat race is dispassion. And I think that sort of concludes our session on Maya today. I mean, we've talked about space-time and karma, which is another aspect of Maya, but I think we'll pause here. But it was a long session because we decided to do a lot and we had that Q&A on Atman and Brahman, and I can take more questions if you have the... I know I cut down that Q&A a little bit in the interest of time and covering the material, but we were talking about these two dolls. If there is energy and willingness to have some of the deeper questions to discuss, we can. But we covered a lot today. We covered these 4 dolls in fact today in one session. The philosophy dolls.
You asked her to remind you something, right? An exercise or something.
About fear and all, a thought experiment. Please, I don't know if if you find it meaningful or not. I find it very meaningful in times when I get fearful. So what is it? We're talking about fear, no? So let's do a thought experiment. We all know when we were born. Yes, we have a start date, we know. This was the date on which I was born. But we do not know the end date. But there is an end date, expiry date. What if we were told our expiry date ahead of time? How will we choose to live our life? If somebody comes and tells me, Pranav, you have 7 days more to live. In that moment, everybody will react differently. But isn't that true though? That we all have an expiry date, we just don't know what it is. And we spend our entire life not thinking about that. It's a hard thing to think about, no?
You can think, but it's not going to get you anywhere.
No. So that's what I'm saying. No. So if you know what your expiry date is, we will chase our goals very differently. But because we don't know what our expiry date is, we get distracted. You see what I'm saying here? It ultimately goes to that question of what is the goal of life. That we've talked about goal. Krishna frames the goal as Atman, Brahman, realizing your true self. But if we become a little bit more practical, we all have an expired life, right? People who are enlightened will choose to use that date to have a different way to do things that are priority for them. People who have fear, a lot of fear, they will sit and they will just wait for it. And they will be in depression, they will be in sadness, and why is this happening to me, this and that. So this goes to making our life intentional. What are the right things to chase within the time we have given? And that in this thought experiment is how I understand what Krishna is talking about as where our focus should be all the time. All the time. We are all walking to our deaths every day, every moment. We just don't know when the road ends. But if we just play out with this idea that it will end, we will live, hopefully, the people whose prakriti is of a good kind, they will live their life very, very intentionally, focusing on higher things in life, not about themselves, but the world outside. There's one topic in which we did not go much into detail in this session, which is death. Gita is not a happy text in that sense. It goes to our deepest fears. But it also lifts us up by saying, hey, you are the Atman, by the way. Don't worry.
So there is a death meditation that I experienced. I don't know how I got a chance to experience it. And through breath work, there were like a few asanas that we practiced, and there was intense breath work. And then we performed the death meditation. And actually, I think that's the closest or the most intense meditation that I've ever done. And a few realizations, a few things like, I felt it then. And that's how my next 6 months and I'm here, and that's how I'm planning my days ahead also. This death meditation is what you are saying. And the death meditation concept of like practicing it every day actually takes away a lot of, it has been really helpful for me personally.
Takes a lot of fear away. Or the.
So for me, it has never taken the fear away. I'm still fearful. But the thing is that I have not stopped myself from
You can look past that fear.
I am trembling, I'm crying, but I still do it. Where like a highest form of surrender physically, like I have physically put myself in situations where like I want to do this, and I'm in the hands of God. I don't know what will happen. I'm trembling, I'm telling you, my knees were shivering and all of that. But I still did it because I wanted to do it.
What is the, how do you do death meditation? Just give us an idea.
So I attended a retreat, and there's a yoga teacher there. She takes her classes, and she made us do. She learned it from Isha Yoga, Sadhguru. So that's how she made us do it.
No, but what do you remember in that meditation? Like,
That was so in Hindu mythology, like, we have our body, the toes are tied, नाक में वो फील करते ना. There are people crying around us. ऐसा करके she give cues. But उससे पहले 2 घंटे का, मतलब उससे पहले for 4-5 minutes she prepared us physically, जो हमने योगा किया.
right.
At that, like on that particular Sunday, जब 2 घंटे का योगा किया, after that breath work, intense breath work, where our nervous system was absolutely calm. And then she made us lie down, and then she made us like reenacted that whole thing verbally. That in our head, when we were lying down in Shavasana, I could actually feel that, like, it was very real for me. Very real for me, where I understood that I'm not very fearful of death, but I'm fearful of losing my closed ones. Like, that's a very innate thing for me. I'm not fearful of dying. I'm fearful of not being present for my loved ones, and they not being there for me. The things which I wanted to do for them. That's how I felt it. But there were other people who felt different things. So we were a bunch of people, and that's how we like experienced it. And since then, it has been like
Very good. Interesting. Very nice.
That explains your point. Just before you said.
yeah. So this Maya thing, like it literally evaporated out
I mean, has anybody like lost their immediate family members here? Immediate family members. You have? Has anyone else? I've lost my father. And it was like he lived a good life. He died in his 70s, so he was not necessarily young either. But for me personally, it was a very life-changing experience to see my father lying down, like you said, in that death meditation. Then thinking about, all of these things. And then in our culture, we also give fire. I mean, I was the eldest son, so I have to give fire. It is a life-changing experience. It does let you reframe. A lot of people, as I said, mentioned earlier, become very philosophical when somebody dies. And grieving is actually a very intense form of love also. It's not from fear. I believe grieving is an intense form of love. Loss. But why is death given so much importance here? You may ask, no? Because death and spirituality are interrelated. Without death, spirituality will not exist. Isn't it? Why do these texts like Upanishads and Gita and all the other like religions and all focus so much on death? Because death and spirituality are causally related. If you were not dying, you wouldn't care about spirituality.
In the real struggle, we at that particular moment we forget this, that he's not gone anywhere. He is. I mean, if he's enlightened soul, then I don't know, but if he's not, he's gonna come again.
Right. See, this interconnected that we were talking, like how do I inferentially understand something? Right? Like this idea of how we are all connected. Let me just sort of take a step away from death. Right? So our body is made up of bones and blood and tissue and all, no? So ultimately everything in this body is made of certain chemicals only, na? Calcium, iron, carbon, oxygen. Where did that come from? We didn't make it. It came from outside through the food we eat, air we breathe, water we drink. We've taken something outside and it's all connected only, no? And where did that come from? Food come from? Sun? Energy? So in that sense, we are causally linked to that energy. How can we exist independently of that? We cannot logically. The carbon, the calcium, the iron, all of this that is inside of our cells is a remnant of a dead star, probably millions of years, billions of years ago. So whatever we have inside has only come from outside. So how can we be different from outside, logically speaking? This idea of outside and inside, we have invented it with ego. I am Pranav, and then Maya starts. These are all meditations to think how we are causally linked with everything else. Do what?
Nisha yoga, there is, I don't remember the meditation name, but they do make you experience this through meditation. I've heard people who have experienced
That's also another interesting meditation.
like shaking, like soul shaking meditation, I would say.
So, I mean, the idea here is not to make us feel depressed, actually. It can feel like that. But then this knowledge becomes more mature if we live with it and say, okay. See, when we are in our teens, we don't care. The whole life is in front of us. You're smiling. You're still like in your teens only.
I was just remembering.
Right. Then 20s happen, 30s happen, and life suddenly starts moving a lot faster when you're in your 40s and 50s. Time is time. It's also the illusion of time here, no? Things get a sense of urgency in our life the more decades we cross. And if we have not achieved certain things, we look back and say, I should have done that, I should have not done that. Now that cannot come back. That meditation has to start from now. So the idea is not to make us depressed, the idea is to make us more intentional. Goal. And how to live with this temporary nature of existence. The more decades we have under the belt, the more urgent that question will become. And if we don't solve it, the question will be there. It will become more and urgent and urgent. In our childhood and teens, that question is not important at all. There are more transactional things in the world that are more important: job, money, relationships. Majority of old people are not happy. But as Krishna says in Vishwarup Darshan, I am the time, I am coming for you all. All right. Any last questions before we end it? Long session today. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. New.
Can I just like comment? Again, this is new, right? I'm born in the Sikhism religion, which is not Bhakti path. So Gita is like really new for me. One of my comments is that like it feels like an intensely personal text, right? Swadharma. Again, we all should know that in life, it feels like it is talking about the relational aspect of us with the environment. Dharma is we discussed, right? But if you look at our lives, individually, we'll be like mostly like spiritual beings, right? From the day we are born. I can see that in my children, right? As they are growing. Where the thing, as we get in the relational being aspect, that's where the conundrum start, right? That is how I feel. And second is, it feels like Gita works for like these seekers who are present here, who seem somehow like somewhere in the middle of the spectrum. But it seems that Gita may not work for these intense human beings who have some very big like vrittis that are coming from somewhere. Like I can give an example of my own father, who is intensely a very bhakta, bhakti yoga and jnana. He's a master at everything, very intelligent. But then I see that he has so much jnana, but he cannot. There's intense fear as he gets older. It's more fear of like there's a hypochondriac. There's a word for it, right? Intense fear. So then I keep saying, Papa, but you know so much, right? And you have all your life been in the Gurdwara, done bhakti, and know the scriptures. But then why there is a fear? And the fear is not about just dying, right? Fear is like, oh, my blood pressure will go up. And so hypochondriacs, right? So what I'm trying to point out is that there are these deep medical conditions that lead to certain type of brain stuff that Gita will not solve for, right? Like my dad knows everything. Nobody can teach him in that sense, and he's intense about his discipline practice. But fear body, full fear body, so I'm really just making a point that Gita is for like these middle people. It's not because enlightened doesn't need Gita. वो तो enlightened है, right? But these other side of the spectrum, people with this intense vrittis, that is coming from a mental condition. Gita can solve that because Gita अगर तुम उनको बोलो उनको समझ ही नहीं आने वाला. They'll know it but they won't be able to live it. I'm giving my dad's example in a very honest, authentic way. So to me, like I'm grappling with this complexity, you know, like how do you deal with this, right? Thing. And I'm going to just put it out there.
Yeah, my 2 cents on that. I absolutely understand where you're coming from, first of all. Right? Because my mom is just like whatever you explained is my mom. But one thing which I've noticed in her, and one thing which I'm trying not to do myself, is when we read a lot of all of this knowledge, yeah, there's overburdening, there's no time for self-reflection and action. She just tries to, she has understood this whole story, and now her life she's trying to match it somewhere, but for that self-reflection and action has to be done. The more I keep reading Gita again and again, the more when I do self-reflection and then I read that text again, there's a different level of understanding that I get. Like this is just my personal experience in the last 1.5 2 years that I've been. And that's where I feel with that inferring part which he's saying, that if my mom she would have done that action part, then I think she would have been better able to deal with the fears. She's highly knowledgeable. She's the, like whenever somebody talks about bhakti yoga, it's just my mom's face which comes up. Yeah. So I feel this has to come in a unison form rather than just one aspect of it, is what I feel for her father or whoever. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
See, it's a hard path, no?
I don't think it's about hard or not. Like for me, it's also not easy. It's very, very hard.
By hard, I mean like there are so many nuances to it, no? Like there is that the idea, like, you know, when we are trying to say that we read a text and it will solve our problems. That's exactly where the question is going to, right? That we read a text will solve our problems. No. I read an engineering book, that will not make me a good engineer. We are putting too much expectation on text will tell you what to do. But as I said, no, at the end Krishna asks Arjun, I have told you everything, now what you will do. So the text's work is to tell you, or rather show you. The karma part or the action part you're saying has to be done by the individual, no?
That's the proverb in English. They just call this kind of analysis paralysis, where you just keep on analyzing too much and you get paralyzed before you take an action. So the less information you consume, the more chance you have to implement it. That's the way it's said it.
उसमें I think the most important word that Gita would have come out for me is self-inquiry. That is reflection. Until you sit with it and you kind of get it integrated in your day to day, it is just a kind of knowing at a level, right? The kind of knowing that Pranav was talking about is different. अगर तुम्हारे में self inquiry नहीं है, self reflection नहीं आ जाता है, it's just in the
Intellectual level.
Intellectual play, nothing else. The hardest, I'm not saying that this is the play, but I actually was making a point about an intensely personal swadharma, which Pranav said. But for me, I feel the challenges are like it's in the relational element, right? And that's where the thing is. And it doesn't apply to the extremes. Extreme people, right? The people who have these like mental disabilities or
It's harder. It's objectively harder for.
And the people who are already like enlightened, unko Gita ki zarurat nahi hai. And I feel that a problem that I'm emerging seeing is like people with a lot of these like mental disabilities or different abilities, right? Like the fear part
just, I'm seeing that it's a problem with the brain. There's something wrong with their brain. That's how I feel. It's not, it's in that doll of yours, right? Something is wrong with their brain. That's it. Like the modern psychology will give it a label, no? They are on the spectrum of brain dysfunction, yeah. So I'm just kind of struggling with that idea. I'm just going to put it out there. These people are like, already the people here are balanced and they are kind of like, yeah, and
Balanced isn't the word I would use. But
balanced or somewhere in the middle. We are the middle packers, not extremes.
The fear which comes, which like, okay, it's not, it could be from some soul related.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Let me just do, I don't want to stop this discussion. Let me just do closing prayers and then I want to stop that recording. Okay. No, I think it's still going on. Is he stopped it?
He said that he never does it. Let's not stop.
Okay.
2 hours per minute.
How much?
2 hours per minute.
2 hours. Okay, let's just close and then we can keep talking till you guys have said we're done. Huh? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.